everybody, welcome back to the Time Pass podcast. This is your host, Ashika. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. If you haven't done so already, please like me on Facebook at Time Pass Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Time Pass_podcast, and make sure that you are followed, and subscribed on YouTube and on your listening platform of choice. If you are an auditory listener, wherever you tune into podcasts, you can find me there. Please follow, and subscribe to the show. Also, you can find the show on Ruckus Avenue Radio and the Dash Radio app, Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11:30 a.m. CMT on Mondays, and 3:30 p.m. on Mondays IST. So, lots of places where you can find the show. All right, you guys. Y'all. Okay, before I get into the research, and this is pages, you can't tell if you're watching on YouTube, this is pages of research on this episode. But before I get into it, I did want to let you know that I had the pleasure of being interviewed by an online magazine. It's called Canvas Rebel. You can find them at canvasrebel.com. It's a really neat magazine. Their mission is basically to support creatives and small businesses and highlight and amplify those voices. So, just about 3-4 days ago, they did a feature on me. So if you would like to check that out and read the interview, it was a really thought-provoking interview for me. There were really some questions that made me think a little more. I mean, I'm always thinking, but I had to be really thoughtful about my answers. And so if you would like to check that out, go to canvasrebel.com. I'm sure you can just type in my name, Ashika Lal, and the feature will come up. Or you can go to my Facebook or my Instagram, and it is linked in my link tree. So just go to the link in bio. All right, you guys. The games we play in dating. You guys, this is such a huge topic. I struggled with narrowing down how I wanted to talk about the games we play in relationships or in dating, because there's just so many. There's texting games, there's once you're in a relationship games, there's games that both men and women play, and games that mostly men play, and games that mostly women play. So this is a huge topic. It could probably be a two-parter. However, I am going to do my best to try to cover this all in one episode for you. And I've got a couple different ways that I want to start this out. And I'm not saying that I've never played dating games before. Of course I have. Especially, I think when you're immature and you're just sort of dating and you don't know what you want or what you're looking for, you're probably more prone to playing those games. If you haven't healed yourself, you're probably prone to playing those games. You can have trauma or whatever it is. If you're not over someone, or if you're just bored and that's why you're dating, you can end up playing games with people. So, is that something that I do now? No, I try my hardest not to. However, you'll see as I go on in this episode, I am guilty of a couple things here. And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys of what I am guilty of. But anyway, so it's something that we're all dealing with if you're single and out in the dating world. And it's so frustrating, I suppose is the proper word. It's really frustrating when you have to question whether somebody who you are talking to is being genuine or if they're playing a game. Now me, as you've all heard Fabian say multiple times, I'm very much trusting, and I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So it takes me a long time to get there when I'm I think they're just being an ass. I always think the best of people because I don't know, I just want people to think the best of me too. So, I feel things like that, everybody starts off on the same playing field, and then kind of like with trust, right? And then based on your actions, that's how you get either higher on the scale or lower on the scale. So that's kind of the same thing with this games, right? Because it is all about trust. Do you trust that the person's being genuine with you, or are you sure that you're being manipulated? So I want to start off, I'm not picking on the men. Men, you're going to have your moment. Women, we're going to have our moments too. So I'm going to start off with games that men play when you're first talking to them. So this is like in the text message sort of realm of things. Number one, also, this is a lot of content. Several articles were used for me to come up with this outline. So if you're interested in reading any of those, make sure you go to the website, timepasspodcast.com. I will link each article in the show notes. So if you're interested in reading more about what I'm talking about, just make sure you go to that website. Okay, so games that men play in texting. Number one, he's inconsistent. So because he's not always texting you back right away, that doesn't mean that he's playing a game. But if he doesn't text back, and then also, like, he'll keep in contact with you still. Like, he's inconsistent. Like, sometimes he can text back right away, and other times he'll just ignore your messages. And then the context of the messages, right? Are they just answers to your questions? Are they dull? Are they engaging? Like, what is it like? So if a man can't show you consistency in his communication style, it could be that, you know, he is playing a game with you. And especially if he does go a certain length of time ignoring you, ignoring your messages, and gives you kind of the cold shoulder, it is kind of a little red flag, especially in the beginning, that he's maybe stringing you along a little bit. Number two, something else that men do, just blatantly ignores your messages. So you see that he's online, you see that he's active on Instagram or other social media, but he is ignoring you. Now, if a man is busy, most of the time he'll let you know that he's busy because he doesn't want you to think that you're being ignored. But if he does this from time to time, a lot of times men, and I would say this one probably goes for women as well, sometimes men and women do this because they want to be chased. They want to, you know, they want you to come after them. And then I think the other thing is like, if he doesn't text you back, he's just trying to keep you around. And then when he does finally message, if there's no apology for the lapse in communication, and it's just kind of like, oh, hey, like picking up where you left off, that is also something to be a little worried about, because I think that also is maybe testing your boundaries a little bit to see with like what they can get away with. I don't know. This next one is huge. It's huge, but it's someone who views your story and or reacts to it, but is still ignoring your text messages. It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's like, hey, I'm online, I see you, I like your story, but I'm just gonna keep ignoring whatever it is that you said here in this message. And basically what it is, it's just like, it's a mixed signal. It's more stringing you along, it's more breadcrumbing. It's just somebody who, God, a lot of this is just somebody who doesn't know whether or not they want you. That's what I feel like. A fourth thing, and this is a difficult one for me to talk about because I feel like men and women can do this. But if he or she only, and I'm going to say he or she, even though this article is primarily for men, things that men do, but if they only communicate with you when it's convenient for them. That's, I don't know. It's hard for me with that one because I think that people can be busy. And because I'm guilty of this, right? I'm a busy person. So when somebody is messaging me at a certain time of day consistently, I just think like, hey, this is a good time for them to make time for me. And if I can fit it into my schedule, I'm like, okay, well, that works for me too. But I would have to say it does become a problem after a while, because like this last person that I was talking to consistently made time for me in the mornings, and then it would be all day and I wouldn't hear from them again as this thing progressed, which wasn't true in the beginning. You know, it would be kind of more sporadic. And then it started making me feel like this person was maybe putting me in a box a little bit, or like, you know, like this is when they had time for me, so that's when they were going to communicate with me, and that was it. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Like if I tried to communicate in the evening, a lot of times the messages would go ignored or wouldn't be responded to until the next day. And so again, I think like I just always think people are busy because I'm so busy. And so I'm really easygoing about that stuff. But I think in this situation, it was a red flag that I probably ignored because I wanted something to happen and work out in this situation. So I don't know what that leaves that with. I guess it's not a good thing. I think if somebody interacts with you only when it's convenient for them, it really shows that it's kind of the me show. It's not so much about you. Like, because I think if I was really interested in someone, like, you know, yeah, if you're going to communicate with me at this time, I'm going to respond to you at this time. But, you know, if you have to make time for your person. You have to make time for people. And only communicating when it's convenient for you totally disregards the other person's needs and feelings in the situation. So, there you go. This is similar to the one before this, but he interacts with others on other platforms but still keeps you waiting. To me, this is just like a man that doesn't prioritize you. Like, you're on the back burner. He's going to do what he wants to do, and he will react to you again when it's convenient for him, when he has time to pay attention to you. So I think that, you know, it is what it is. Now, oftentimes, something like this could be maybe he's hurt, you know. Not every guy is a manipulative little shit. So, you know, maybe he's hurt by you. Maybe he's trying to process his feelings and his thoughts. Or maybe he's just not that into you. Like I said, maybe you're on the back burner and he'll get to you when he gets to you. So there are several reasons why this can happen. I just got to the negative one first. Okay, this is a big one for me. But if you as a woman constantly feel uncertain, and as a man, if you feel uncertain about your relationship or whatever it is, situationship, or the status of what you're doing, if you're feeling anxious, or the way I like to say it is off balance. I do not like to be off balance. And so if I start to become off balance, then I'm anxious and I'm in my anxiety and I'm overthinking. And why is that? It's because I don't know what's going on. It's because you haven't made me feel secure in the connection. So I'm feeling insecure about what's going on. And that is a sign, unfortunately. And if you feel uncertain about it, it could be, you know, that you may have like an anxious attachment, and what it can do is also make you think that someone's playing games when maybe they're not playing games. Or maybe you think like, oh, hey, they're just like not that into me. Like, I had that before when like somebody's made it very clear that they're into me and then they start acting funny and I'm like, oh, was it all in my head? Like maybe they weren't into me at all. And then I have to like remind myself like, no, wait, they did this. No, wait, they said this. No, wait, they did this and I said this. And so, no, I'm not crazy. Like, it's not good when you don't feel secure about what's going on in your relationship. This is a big one too. So while chatting, he avoids answering important questions. I would say that, like, for me, I definitely, like to be vulnerable in my relationships. And I like to talk about, like, I'm not just going to want to talk about surface things forever. And so if I notice that somebody's just like, hey, how's it going? Have a good day, blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't really want anything deeper. They don't want to dive deeper. They're going really slow. They're keeping it very surface level. And they're not ready for anything deeper. And so, I mean, that's what I think. It can be confusing. And it can be really generic conversations, and if you're trying to make plans or talk about the future and it's just kind of glossed over a little bit, like, that could make it seem like, the emotional intelligence isn't really there, and you got to figure out if it's just their personality or if it's just like that they're not really interested. This next one, the format of his text makes it confusing. So that can be like one day he can be like totally attentive and nice and into you, and then one day he doesn't text back. That's really difficult when that happens, because that's something that makes people feel off balance. I experienced this, and you're just like, okay, like, are you into this? Are you not into this? I don't understand. Like, yesterday was such a great day, and today it's like I don't exist. So it can be a sign that somebody's losing interest, or that they've already, like, they're not that into you. I don't know. Okay, now I would like to talk about, hold on, I gotta get all these notes together, y'all. It's crazy. The amount of notes I have on this stuff is out of control. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is, since I picked on the men with the texting, I'm gonna pick on the women a little bit with the games. Now, I will have to say, I feel like men play games more in the beginning, and I feel like women play games more like when the relationship's more defined and more settled in a little bit. Maybe there's a few things on here that I feel like does happen in the beginning, but some of the things on here are more once you're in a relationship, the games that women can play. So let's get into it. Hello. The waiting game. Okay. So we do this in the beginning a lot. So it's like, you give a guy your number or whatever, and then he finally reaches out to you and calls you. Women like to do this thing where we don't want to seem too available to a man, right? Or it's like maybe the first date that he suggests for a date, getting together, you're like, oh, I actually have plans. I'm not available that day. Sorry. So because of the nature of just me, who I am as a person and what I have going on, I am always playing the waiting game. And that's not because I do it on purpose. It's because, like, I'm a single mom. I have a schedule with my child. I have a schedule with work. I have a schedule with my workouts. I have a schedule with the podcast. Like, so a lot of times when a man will ask me out, I'll be like, oh, I can't do it that day. I can do it this day. And it's really pathetic, but sometimes it's like a week, 2 weeks out. Like, that's just how it goes. I am not readily available sometimes. And so, you know, sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. And oftentimes this will happen. I don't do it on purpose, but the thing I will do on purpose is, like, number one, I will not there's a fine line, right? So, like, if somebody's calling you and they're like, hey, are you free? Like, right now, like, can we do something? It really depends on how I feel about you. If you are somebody that has been, like, trying to make plans with me genuinely, and you're just free and you're like, hey, I'm free, I just thought I would call and check in and see if you're free. If I'm free, I'm, like, down. If you're somebody who has, like, made plans and canceled on me, or are trying to call me at, like, 7 at night to go out at, like, 8 or 9, immediately no, I'm not doing that. Like, plan better. I'm a planner at heart, so, like, I know people can plan. Plan better. I'm not your last minute date to anything. So that's a different thing. But, you know, we do like to make men wait a little bit to answer their calls. It's a little bit of, like, cat and mouse, a little bit of hard to get. You know, we like to do that. This one, I don't do this, but I think some women may, but it's the sexy clothes game. It's like, I always like to look my best. I always like to dress up. I do that because I like the way that makes me feel about myself. And when I take such pride in my appearance and somebody else notices and compliments me, I enjoy that compliment. But the sexy clothes game, what this is when a woman will dress sexily or provocatively, and then when she catches the man, like, basically, like, checking her out or concentrating on bits of skin that may be exposed, she will shame him and get angry at him for, like, objectifying her. I don't know. I can't relate to that, but I guess there are women out there that do that. Men, if you have had a woman do this to you, shoot me a DM or an email and let me know, because it's interesting to me. So the only thing I would say is, like, oh God, I had this one man that I was in a relationship with, and I've always, like, been into dressing well. And so I was wearing a shirt, and it was kind of low cut, but we were on a date. And so we were sitting there, and he never cared. Like, you know, like, he would just be like, oh, you look good. Like, you know, like, that's great. But it would bother him when he would catch other men looking at me. And so it would, like, it was a thing. Like, I remember distinctly one time when we were at a restaurant and we were ordering, and the waiter came up. And the thing is like, I'm super friendly. Like, I will pay attention to name tags. I will address you by your name. I want the hookup. I want the insider information. I want to know what's good on the menu. Like, that's just me. I'm a conversationalist. And I remember I was, like, talking to the guy, and I was like, oh, and he's like, oh, what do you want? And I was like, blah, blah, blah. And he walks away, and he's like, you shouldn't be so nice to him. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, he was just looking down your shirt the whole time. And I'm like, he was not. And he's like, he was. I saw. And I don't know if he was or not, but I think sometimes men pay more attention to those details than women do. So I had to take his word for it. Did I change my behavior at all? No. That's his problem if he's insecure with that, not mine. So besides that, I really don't have any experience with the sexy clothes game. The no sex game. Yes, we have all done this. When we are upset, we will not put out. It's just the way it goes. Make it better if you want to get some. All women do this. Sorry. you know, and especially in relationships. Like, this is one where I feel like this is really like when you're locked into a relationship and then you're like, I'm really mad at you right now. No, I don't want you to touch me. Like, this ain't happening. So that doesn't need much explaining right there. The playing victim game, God, I hate this. And I think men and women do this. I know a lot of people who do this all the time, where they like the crying game. Like, it's so manipulative. If you do this, please stop. It's really manipulative. You're crying wolf, essentially. Like, if I see you crying at the drop of a hat over everything, this isn't just, women don't just do this in relationships. They do this in family situations. They do this at work. And I've seen men do this too. Like, don't do it. Like, my mom has this like famous saying, but it's like crocodile tears. Like, I don't want to see your crocodile tears. So this is something that really irks me because I just grew up with her hate for it. So it's like, don't cry to me. Don't cry to me. Don't cry for me, Argentina. No, this is not happening. It's do not manipulate people with tears, because one day when you really feel like you need to cry, no one's gonna buy your shit. Not a good game to play, in my opinion. Sorry. The handle my mood swings game. Maybe, like a little bit. Like, I could say maybe I can do this. So, I don't know. So the example in the article is like, you know, if you're mad at your friend and then the person you're with can be like, oh, well, blah, 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 and starts talking crap about your friend. And then you turn around and you're like, whoa, like, I can be mad at my friend, but you're not allowed to say those things about my friend. I am very much that way. Like, when it comes to my friends or family, like, no. Like, you're not allowed to say anything about them. Like, you can listen, you can give me your opinion, but you cannot badmouth them. I will not put up with that. These are people that I love, regardless of whether or not I like them at the moment. Sorry. So this is just common sense type stuff. Like, don't get involved. Like, when it comes to family matters, don't get involved. That's my advice. Sorry. Like, don't get involved. Let them work it out. It's like, my mom always says it to me and my brother. She's like, you guys will get into arguments. Like, my brother and I are super close. We don't really fight, but we will have healthy debates where it gets heated. Like, we can get heated, and then we could turn around and sit and like have a drink together and be totally fine. That's our dynamic. And I think in the beginning, once we got older and we started having that dynamic, like, she would kind of like insert herself, and then we'd be like, dude, what? And then she's like, I learned my lesson. I'm not getting involved between the two of you, because you guys will be fine in 20 minutes and then I'll be the bad guy. Don't do that. Don't get involved. If it's an argument between best friends, don't get involved. If it's an argument between family members, don't get involved, because this is what happens. You are going to feel the wrath. Women, men, they get super protective of their relationships. Don't do it. I am so guilty of the next one. Like, Fabian can tell you how guilty I am of the next one. A lot of people just think that that's me, but I will play the dumb game. Not dumb like I don't understand, but if it's like something I don't want to do, or like don't like, I'm like, so for example, I feel so bad right now, okay? So for example, I have put air in my tires in my car, maybe like when I was younger. I probably did it more, like when I had my first car, when it's my mom's car and I was driving it. So, because that car was old, it was an old Ford, it was an 88. And so I had to learn these things. I was very like in this thing, and so I would go, I'd put air in the tire and stuff. I haven't put air in my tires in like so long now. Like, if I get the little notification in my car that says like, oh, you have like low air, I will literally go to, I was guilty of this. I will go to work and I'll like talk talk to my colleagues and I'll be like, hey, like, oh yeah, my car, blah, blah, blah. And one of the guys usually like there's a department, you know, that is primarily, it's dominated by males. And usually one of those guys will be like, hey, just give me your car keys. I'll take care of it for you. And I'm like, I don't know how to do it. So the way I approach it is always like, oh, like my car was telling me this. Like, what? I don't understand. I'm sorry, okay? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I just want somebody to take care of it for me. So I will play dumb when it comes to things like that, okay? Like, I will, because I don't want to do it. I just don't. I want to get you to do it for me. And again, like I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. The bait game. I don't do this either, but it is women that ask those questions. That's like, do I look fat in this? Do you like this dress? How does this outfit look? If I'm genuinely asking you how I look, it's because I want you to tell me that I look good, because I already know I look good. Sorry. Like I said, I put thought into my appearance, so when I feel good and I feel like I look good, that's probably when I will ask someone like, oh hey, like, is this okay? Like, how does this look? Because I just want to hear that validation. I want to hear that compliment. So the bait game is when you ask questions like that, like, do I look fat in this? And then based on how you answer, you're gonna get torn a new one. So be prepared. Okay. Besides that, there's the we need to talk game that women will use in relationships, which is just kind of like to scare a guy a little bit. Like, hey, we need to talk. Sounds real serious, right? God, I just remember the last time somebody told me that. But, you know, like, sounds real serious. It's a good way to get the guy to kind of sober up and maybe get him to toe the line of whatever you want to do if he thinks that you are going to break up with him or that he's going to lose you. I've never really done that, so I don't have much to say about that. This next one is probably my tried and true in my pocketbook, up my sleeve, 24/7. It's just the way I handle things, but another reason why I do this is because I do have a bad temper, so I tend to get quiet when I'm upset because I say things that I don't mean. The silent treatment. Sorry, but I don't want to tell you what you did wrong. I want you to figure it out on your own. If I'm not talking to you, there's a problem. I will talk to a wall, literally. Like, women do this. If you have upset us, we are going to freeze you out until you apologize, and you better know what the hell you're apologizing for and try to fix it and make it better. It's just the way it goes. I have classically done this my entire life. And I guess it's like a couple different ways. So if it's like somebody I care about, whether it's a family member or a love interest, whatever it is, like I want them to ask me what's wrong. I want them to apologize. I want to talk it out. I want to fix it. But I don't want to be the one to start the conversation because I feel like I'm the one that's been wronged, right? Then there's also a form of silent treatment recently that I found. And it's not really silent treatment, but it's like I tend to, if I don't enjoy a person, if I feel like their intentions aren't pure, I'm on a speak when spoken to kind of basis with you. And that's not silent treatment. That's just, I don't have anything to say to you. I don't value what you say. I don't believe a word that's going to come out of your mouth. I have no interest in forming any sort of deeper bond with you. So I'm going to keep you at the surface level, and I will speak when I'm spoken to, or when necessary, I will speak to you. But that's about it. And that's just me, like, not wanting drama. Like, if somebody has shown their true colors to me like that, I placed you somewhere, and unless you can prove yourself otherwise to get me to change my opinion, I'm just not going to engage with you. And a part of that is also, you know, different dynamics. But part of that can also be just a protect yourself, especially if you know someone's manipulative. I don't want to have a conversation with someone and then later hear that my words got turned around into something else. So it's also a part of self-preservation, I suppose. Okay, so those are some of the things that this article said that women do. And I suppose that, oh, I forgot one. The flirt with others game. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever done it on purpose. But, you know, there's that, what the game is that a woman or man, goes both ways, will flirt with someone else of the opposite sex right in front of you to get a rise out of you. Which is a game that women and men play just to see how much you care about them. It's all about validation, right? For me, I don't have that. This is always a problem for me. And it really depends on the confidence level of who I'm with at the time. Like I said, I'm a conversationalist and I'm super nice. A lot of times people think I'm flirting when I'm just being me. So most of the time, if a man is with me, he just has to deal with it. He just has to deal with knowing that that's my personality and I'm not flirting. I don't think I've ever like flirted with someone to make someone jealous while I was still in a relationship with them. Now, if we broke up and maybe I was flirting with someone to make them jealous, I have done that, but not while I was in a relationship. 'Cause I'm super like, I don't have time to like have multiple things going on. Like, I've always been like about one person, so that's what it is. I guess the thing with me is sometimes my friendliness can be construed as flirting. I have had men think that before, and then I have to kind of like lay the law down, like, hey, this is my personality. It's not anything like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And most men actually really understand that. I haven't had any issues with it, but my friendliness is always an issue. Anyway, okay. So this last type of games that I want to talk about are, there are a set of games that I found that are both men and women can do it. So I wanted to talk about it as a co-ed game playing thing. The mixed messages, hot and cold. This is a very common mind game. Someone's, texting you all the time and then pulls away and then they come back and then they pull away. And what this is just, when somebody does this, it makes you feel a different amount of ways. You can start to feel like, oh, this person's lovey-dovey, and then you get all into them, and then they get super standoffish, and then you're like, whoa, what the heck's going on? Again, it takes you off balance, it takes you off kilter. Playing hard to get, kind of similar to the one where I said, the waiting game, so I'm not really going to get into that so much, but, it's just like the being distant, not wanting to appear too excited. One way that people do this nowadays is, and I hate this game, so I'm going to talk about it here because I think it makes sense. But it's I sent a text message and she waited 3 hours to respond to me. So I'm going to wait exactly 3 hours to respond to them. Or you send a text message and somebody gets it and they're sitting there and they're like, oh, I can't respond right away because then I'll appear too interested. I'll appear like I'm like sitting here waiting. Like, honestly, everybody has their phone in their hands. Everybody knows this. So unless you're genuinely busy, like, just fucking respond. Be an adult. Respond. Like, there are times when my text response is like this, and there are times when it's not. It's like an hour later, 2 hours. It depends on what I'm doing. I could be recording. I could be working out. I could be in a meeting. So just be genuine with that. You gotta be careful with that. Breadcrumbing. In this day and age, this happens all the time. Somebody who is not 100% interested in you, makes a half-hearted effort, and strings you along with flirty messages and, flirty messages and acting like there's potential between you two when really there isn't. That's happened, unfortunately. Provoking jealousy, we just talked about this. Like I said, men and women can do it. It's a way to get somebody to get a rise out of them, to validate you, to see how much they really care about you. Ghosting, zombieing, and submarining. It's when somebody intentionally doesn't respond to your messages to get you to think that maybe they're no longer interested in you, to get you to chase them. And then what it does is to you, they're trying to manipulate you to make them seem more valuable, desirable in your eyes. So, no. Love bombing. So it's the opposite. It's when someone comes on super strong, stronger than normal, stronger than what would be normal in that situation, and they start to make you feel like this is like their dream come true, and you're like, whoa, hold on, you don't even know my middle name yet or my last name yet. So love bombing is also a game that men and women play to get somebody hooked onto them, and it usually doesn't last. Negging. This is something that I feel is more geared towards men. I don't think a lot of women do this, but it's that backhanded compliment that men have been told, intrigues women. Nobody wants a backhanded compliment. Sorry, no. Benching. So this isn't exactly like something you would do in a relationship, but it's like when you're talking to somebody and then you sort of pull your attention away, and it's almost like breadcrumbing a little bit, where you kind of pause the connection a little bit with them and kind of slow it down because you have another connection that you're more interested in pursuing, but you don't want to lose this other one in case this one that you're more interested in now doesn't work out. So it's like a little bit of attention, very little bit of attention. They're on the bench. You're keeping them there. Got to keep that seat warm. But you're going to pursue this as your main focus right now. Not fun. I don't know. What do you guys think about playing games? That was a whole lot of examples of gameplay. All I can say is doing all the research for this episode and being single for 7 years and having dated and done the dating apps and met people in real life, whatever it is, I would have to say, like, there's a lot of damage that's done when you play games. Honestly, I think people who play games, as I started off the episode saying, they have shit they need to heal. They need validation. They maybe need to stroke their ego, but they're not whole, in my opinion. They're not okay with themselves, and that is why they choose to manipulate someone, because at the core of it, when you play games with someone, you are trying to manipulate and or control their behavior. So that is what this playing games is all about. And you can't have a real relationship like that. You can't constantly manipulate someone and control someone and expect to find a genuine connection. So it was really frustrating for me to do all this research on these games, because I started thinking, like, yeah, have I played games? Yes, I have played games in the past. As you heard, there are still some games I play now. Most of it's very platonic and normal, like the silent treatment. Every woman does that. Every woman does that. But I would have to say when we play games with people, we are causing damage to that person. Their self-worth, their self-esteem, their confidence, whatever it may be. And if you know that you are not interested in someone like that, just let them go. That is the thing that, I've seen this quote on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, a lot. And I have no idea who said it. So if anybody knows the origin, please let me know. But it's this quote that says, if you look at a woman or a man, it could work both ways. But the quote is, if you look at a woman and you don't feel anything inside, she's not yours. Don't fuck with her shit. Like, honestly, like, that's really what it is. If you look at a man or woman and you don't feel anything, they're not yours. Sure, you may admire them. You may be attracted to them. Maybe you want to see if you can, it's an ego thing, and you want to see if you can get them, right? Like, ooh, I wonder if I can pull that. Can I pull that? That's a game. Don't do that to someone. In order for you to pull that, you have to make it seem like you're actually genuinely interested in that person. And then, if you get that person to then let their guard down and be interested in you, and then you're going to be like, oh, well, yeah, I could pull that, but I don't want it long term, so bye. You just fucked that person up for someone else. Like, honestly, it's so immature. Like, playing games is so immature. My advice to everybody out there is, if you see someone and they don't make you feel some type of way, admire them from afar, become their friend, do something like that. But don't fuck up their whole life just to validate yourself. We see this happen all the time and time again. You hear women complain about it. I've complained about it, where a man will pursue you, get you, and then tell you he's not ready for a relationship, or make up some excuse or whatever it may be why he can't be with you or doesn't want to be with you. What the hell were you doing getting into her life in the first place then? You knew that before you pursued her. So don't do it. Like, hurt people, right? Like, how many times have I said this year? And how many episodes have I said this year? Be better, y'all. Be better. Don't play these mind games. If you find somebody playing mind games with you, try to have a conversation about it. Try to just say, like, hey, like, I'm super genuine in my communication with you. Like, I don't feel the same energy back. Like, and if someone, like, doesn't get that or starts gaslighting you because of that, that's another game. So figure it out, cut and run, because they're not for you. I just think it's all part of the problem with the dating culture today, is playing all these games, seeing who we can pull, seeing how many women and men we can pull, and not really diving in to develop something genuine and real with people. I don't know. This is like I said, talking about dating games is probably 2-3 episodes. I can go on and on. But let me know. What kind of dating games have you played or had somebody play with you? Did I mention it? Did I not mention it? If you have any stories, I would love to hear. Shoot me a DM at TimePassPodcast, TimePass_podcast on Instagram, or shoot me an email, timepasspodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear back from you guys. That's all I've got for you today. All about dating games. Who knows what's going on, y'all? If you haven't done so already, please like me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you enjoy listening to the show, you are a fan of the Time Pass podcast, please do me a favor and share the show with at least one person. Tell somebody they can find me on Ruckus Avenue Radio now. I'm super excited to be partnering with them and onto that team. Stay authentic in whatever you do, even when you're dating. It's so hard. I know it's so hard to be genuine and not like think that everyone's playing a game with you, but I promise you, you will not regret it. You will not regret staying true to you, because when you do that, you'll find you can spot the bullshit a little bit easier. All right, you guys, stay authentic, and I will see you next time. Bye.